Hey guys, it's your boy Eli from Geek Centurions with
Yeah, well, hello. It's your boy Kelvin. Hello.
It's me, Joe.
and we're here to talk about some game stuff. Usually one of our other game guys would be here with us, but life and work always get in the way. Daniel, if you were here, man, you and I be going at it with these reveals because we're talking about the PS5 reveal. Yay!
PlayStation. Let's
Yeah,
go.
let's go.
uh,
You can tell where our loyalties are.
the, the
Well,
the enthusiasm. I felt the enthusiasm in that. I'm gonna so for today, guys. Like you're gonna hear most of Eli and Joe taking over this because they are more the avid gamers. I am what's they categorize apparently me as the normie. So I do play games, but I do not classify myself as a gamer. So I will be more of the side commentator, if you will. And if for our visual watchers, Eli is just hold up one of his controllers,
I
specifically.
would have brought in my Switch controllers too, but that's in the other room, and I don't feel like getting up and going for it. But
Yeah.
it is a portable console.
it is a portable console, but I just don't feel like getting up right now.
Mm.
Yeah, and we're as Kelvin was saying, Kelvin did not see the PS5 reel that was trending on basically every social media site ever, and produced a crap ton of memes.
Yeah.
Lord Almighty!
Oh no! I just
Those
followed.
were
I just followed the shit. I just followed the shit memes
the
all.
shit post.
Yeah, the shit posting really, and some of them.
Yeah.
Huh,
Did you see the one I sent you? The one where like,
with
and maybe we'll put this up on screen. It's the one where like they made the new Xbox kind of like a trash, and they threw the design of
in
they threw like the PS5 in the trash.
in the trash. Yeah, I saw that.
I
Yeah,
was like, that's perfect.
the other one you sent me was the one that's literally towering off of. Oh, the perfect cell doesn't, and it's just a long, elongated PS5 on top of cells already
Dude,
long.
there's one. There was one, but I'm like, oh, that's too raunchy for Kelvin to enjoy. And I'm like, I'll send it to you later. I'll send it to you later.
I would send you a bunch of them, and I thought it was good, but you're like, eh.
Well, that's because like the one I saw kind of trumped every one of them, and I'll send it to you like if you want now. But
Mm.
I'll tell you right now, I'm like it might be a little too raunchy for you. But then let's get to the big thing, which is talking about all the reveals. Kelvin, I just sent it to you. Do not mention it because we do not need time. But the PS5 was revealed. We're gonna go over some of the more keyworthy games.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and one of the first games, and it's a game that basically I'm excited for,
Hmm.
and I know Kelvin's excited for, and that is the Miles Morales game, and that is here from Insomniac. And yeah, it looks like it's gonna be a fun game. I'm trying to maximize it.
We're sharing for our visual listeners or for our visual watchers.
For our audio listeners,
Yeah.
Yeah, audio listeners, we are screen sharing the trailer that came out for Miles Morales. Now, for
yeah,
our visual watchers, I do apologize if it's a little shaky. It is screen sharing after all, but if you have seen it, then you've seen it. If not, then the trailer is out on YouTube. So if you haven't checked it out,
hmm
go check it out when you can. But
yeah, and we're only gonna show like a couple of minutes, seconds of it because like really it's been seen by everyone, like, and it looks amazing. First of all, and the
visually,
fact
it
that
looks really good. Yeah.
it is a continuation of what essentially was a very big game from 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago?
Uh, yeah, I think Spider-Man for PS4 came out 2 years ago.
Yeah, and so this feels like a great follow up to that game. Kelvin, as I recall, this is the first trailer you've seen that's from the PS5 event that you didn't get a chance to watch.
It, which one? The Miles Morales?
The whole event. This is the only this is the only trailer you saw.
To see no, I did not get to see the whole event stream, but just
You were
knowing,
not in touch with us
huh?
because you didn't know what was going on.
I honestly did not know. Like I was waiting for like, oh hey, live stream now. I was actually on Facebook just waiting for like the live stream thing to pop up. Say, oh hey, live streaming now, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump
Mhm.
on and watch it, but I didn't see it. So,
Mhm.
but just
It's okay, Kelvin. You just went to the wrong people. You should have called us.
yeah,
Plus, it was on a Thursday, and I think you worked out during that time.
I think so. Yeah, possibly,
Yeah,
maybe, sure.
yeah, it was like in the middle of the day. So
Yeah.
you had an excuse.
Mm-hmm. I had
But
a
it's look. I think we can all agree that it's just a very entertaining game to watch. And I know Kelvin, you already said your thoughts. It just looks amazing.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, I'm excited. Now later we're going to talk about some of the things that has been very confusing about this game, whether you know it or not, Kelvin. It's kind of put into question on the whether or not this game will be. Not saying it won't be good. I am a hopeful man, but I will say this: it does. There is some questionability. I'll say this: starting off the whole event, that was pretty amazing. I don't know. What do you think, Joey?
I mean, yeah, like starting off, having a new Spider-Man game by Insomniac is pretty good. I mean, it's just sort of like, I mean, I've seen my one of my friends play the game, and it looks pretty great. So being able to see sort of a continuation of that series on PS5, and like being Miles Morales as the main protagonist instead of Peter Parker is super neat, because as I recall, I'm pretty sure Miles hasn't been the main character of of his own video game in like,
He
in a
has his
while.
own movie now. It only took a better time.
Yeah, and so it's gonna be neat seeing just what new abilities they'll be putting in, because Miles obviously has like some significant different abilities from regular Peter Parker.
Hmm.
So that'll probably have some pretty neat gameplay mechanics. But yeah, it is definitely, I think, if you were to say I'm buying a PS5 for Spider-Man Miles Morales, then I would say that's a pretty good choice.
Hmm. All right, let's move on to the. Now we're not going to go through all the trailers because there's a lot of stuff we want to talk about, and we're kind of going on time. But the next little trailer, and Kelvin, you ever played Ratchet and Clank?
I have played snippets of it. I could play like small bits of it, like almost like I guess like the demo
Hmm.
version, if you will. Like I always, I'd be that one kid who goes to like Walmart or Target, and if Ratchet and Clank happens to be the game, then I'd be playing that game
Hmm.
on the demo versions of, I guess the perspective systems at the time, like
Yeah.
whether it's Xbox, whether it's
So this is a new
so,
game.
yeah.
Yes, this is a new game, and we're showing it to Kelvin right now. It's a Ratchet and Clank. I'm forgetting
Rift Apart, I
Rift Apart. So
believe.
essentially, it looks like this is using their new engine, right?
Yeah, I think it's a new engine. It's also made by Insomniac Games, so
Who also made the Spider-Man game. So if you didn't have a reason to be excited, you have a reason now.
yeah, and uh, I think you and I agreed that this game sort of like, not only does it look pretty, but it also seems like it's sort of like being used as sort of the tech demo, in a way of like, how fast we can load various things,
It
because the
is.
whole game centers around these rifts. If you see, for our audio listeners, Ratchet is going through various little time portals, I guess, through different areas. It's helped to represent sort of like this whole like thing with the new consoles, both Series X and PS5, being like, hey, we can load stuff really fast now. And for PS5, like, this new Ratchet and Clank game is, yes, their quintessential example of like, look how fast we are loading these new environments in just like the snap of a finger.
Mm-hmm.
So
And Kelvin, since you're basically kind of would be the target audience, someone who wants to maybe buy a new system. What do you think of everything Joey just said, and especially from what you saw a little bit from the trailer?
I guess just basing off the trailer itself, like I think visually, obviously visually for the fans, it's gonna be, it definitely ties with the whole idea behind for PS4 being the whole the okay, hey, we have a much faster processing system now. Look how quickly we can load things into one scene. And I guess for in the terms of like the for all the Ratchet and Clank fans, like me myself, I'm not a Ratchet and Clank fan myself, but I will say that I'm pretty sure Ratchet and Clank fans in general, I'm pretty sure
So,
it's excited for
so
the game.
your interest on the whole faster load screens, how do you feel about that?
Gaming in general has always significantly involved with each decade that has passed. From
Well, do you know what I mean by load screen? You look like you kind of didn't know.
I'm assuming it's like the time it takes for you to like to get from like the actual loading screen like to start the game. Like when you
Yeah,
hit start game, like the time it takes to actually
yeah.
start. So
hmm Well, just in any form, really.
yeah.
Just
Uh,
loading in general.
right. So for like I said though, visually wise, of course for the PS5, they have to make it look visually appealing. Otherwise, what's the point? And then but to tie in the message behind the whole, like, oh hey, here's a game that is does show the aspects of the system in which, hey, look how fast we can load our games now. And it's like you can, like, as soon as you get the game, you pop the disc in or you start the game immediately, you're into the game, like,
hmm
I feel like that's going to be a feature that a lot of gamers, actual gamers, not like myself,
Well, I
are
feel
going
like
to.
even you would enjoy that, even if you don't call yourself an actual gamer. Just
Yeah.
like you, no, I will say I don't mind the loading screen because I gotta do something like while I'm waiting for the I could do something while I'm waiting for this to load. I don't mind. I gotta go take a whiz, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Hey man, I don't mind loading screens to be honest. But no,
Yeah.
essentially, for my take, the Ratchet and Clank thing was I've always liked Ratchet and Clank. I remember playing one of the games. I can't remember the top of my head. But it was the one where it was for PS2. It was for what was it? One you know which one I'm talking about, right?
I don't know the name of it though. I
It's
remember it
because
was
it's
on PS2.
yeah, it was one of the first ones. But I'll look it up as we talk. But essentially, like Joey said, I think this is one of those games that will capture what the PS5 can do,
Mm,
and essentially uh, that's what a lot of gamers, like hardcore PlayStation gamers, want to know.
mm,
What is different from this PlayStation from the last PlayStation, especially when it comes to consumer? You want to differentiate the differences, and if you show that this game is a lot better and a lot faster,
hmm
then you basically got it.
Yeah.
Not just the game, but the system, and I think that's the key.
hmm
Ratchet and Clank is one of those games that really it was going commando.
Oh, all right,
Yeah,
yeah,
now I remember. But essentially, it's one of those games. It's gonna be that game that shows off like how what are the possibilities for this game for a game to run on PlayStation. Now we don't know how it's gonna be for Xbox, but we'll see. Next thing we have here, next game is I just want to note this because it was also it's also going to be exclusive to PS5, which means you can only play this on PlayStation 5. And it's a game by Square Enix where it's called Project Athia. Though that's a working title, right?
yeah, I believe it is. This is like a very. I'm pretty sure this game is like very early in development. I don't think it's even. I don't think it even has a release date.
Yeah, it's Square Enix, man. Don't be surprised.
Yeah, which this. I mean, visually, it looks great. Um, but I am. I don't know. Usually, when it comes to like a lot of games that don't really have like a release date, it's just like, oh, it's coming. The development started now. I'm not as excited because I mean, yes, this game looks very pretty. Um, but the fact that I have no idea when it's coming out, yeah, Project Athia is a working title. I have no idea. All I know is just a working title and visuals for a game. It's very sort of like I don't know. It's just not very interesting to me. Like,
hmm
sure, it does look pretty from what we see, and we've seen some very interesting gameplay segments of it. But like I would be more excited if I had a concrete release date and and actually and more in depth look at the gameplay.
mm.
And what do you think, Kelvin, from watching the trailer and anything that caught your eye, or even what Joey just said?
So only knowledge I can pull from that is, the actual company itself, Square Enix. From my understanding, it's the company that was behind the whole Kingdom Hearts franchise and the Final Fantasy series. So to bring
One's more popular than the other, basically.
yeah, but to bring a game that's still in development into the series, into the light, so to speak. um it's it is, just like Joey said, it is visually appealing towards the
Hmm.
human eye, towards the audience, but it's still, it's still left to tell. It's still a whole what it's still a whole ifs, ands, or buts, with the whole, when the game is actually going to be released. Is, the footage even going to be even better? Is it going to be not as on
Is it
par
gonna pull?
initial
Is it
release?
gonna pull a Watch Dogs?
Oh yeah, like is it? Are they going to
That
scale back because they quickly realize that? Because they quickly realize that, oh yeah, we can't actually achieve this stuff. This is all for like presentation wise.
that
Here's what the actual game looks like,
yeah,
which happens a lot with game development. So yeah,
that's so there's so essentially, with
You're
so
welcome for the example, Kelvin.
thank you. I was just about to ask. I needed to think of some example, and I guess, like
I
I've
read your mind, brother.
what you call it, so it's that whole aspect of, like, is it going to be good to where the point to where, like, okay, should we continue with this momentum? Should we scale it back a bit with the actual trailer reveal or gameplay, or should we just go full out and let's see what people think about this? So
Hmm.
mhm. So in
Yeah,
that
and
in
I
that
agree.
aspect, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree, and I'm a long time Square Enix fan. I like a lot of their games. Kingdom Hearts was one of my favorites as a kid. I am a huge Final Fantasy fan. Good Lord Almighty! When they announced the whole Final Fantasy X HD remaster, I was like, must buy now, because that was one of my favorite games, man. It's one of the ones
Yeah.
that almost made me cry. But essentially, the one thing that always annoyed me about Square Enix was that they always announce a game that's either not ready or just started development. Like, key example was Final Fantasy Verse 13 that eventually became 15. That game for a lot of people was like that game took 10 years to make. In reality, it was more like 2, because 8 years of that was just more like, what do we do? What are we gonna do? What's the plan? Why do we keep changing the plan? Wait, you want to make it a musical, an in-game musical, because you watch Les Mis? What? No, stop. I've experienced this from Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't need that anymore. Um, but yeah, it's, go get the.
Didn't
Uh,
something similar happen? Didn't something similar happen to the initial Kingdom 3 Hearts release as well? And didn't they have to push
Kingdom
back
Hearts
at one
3.
point?
It essentially,
Like Kingdom Hearts 3 had
it
a release
was pushed.
date.
It was pushed back. It was
Yeah,
pushed back, and you can tell from playing Kingdom Hearts 3 that there was a lot of stuff they wanted to do, but they never really could do.
yeah.
But that's up to them. Joey had to go do something real quick. The, we had a doorbell. We had to make sure it was someone we know.
I was like, I
uh,
just see like Joe just like slowly gets up, just slowly walks off frame.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's. I mean, when you're the only two people at home, it's kind of, yeah.
that's true. Yeah,
So you got to make sure people notice someone's at home.
true. For
I
true.
don't think we should edit this out. I think it's pretty funny.
Mm.
To move on to, as like I said, Square Enix does, they do good games, but rarely do they ever actually plan out most of their games. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Mm-hmm.
When the right people's in charge. But let's go on to the next trailer. This is one that caught my eye, mostly because when I was watching, I was like, "Yo, this is a DreamWorks like thing going on." That give me a second while I try to pull that up.
Oh man, DreamWorks is either hit or miss because yeah.
Well,
I
not DreamWorks, Pixar, basically. But yeah,
Oh wait, so
because
wait,
that's
is it DreamWorks or Pixar?
it's not made by those two, but you look at it, it's like you
Oh,
think of one of the
it
two.
has elements of it. Okay.
Like you just look
Personally, I thought more of the animation studio that made Kubo and the Two Rings.
Two Strings.
Two strings, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, the claymation one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that this has more of that inspiration.
Yeah,
But obviously it's modeled in 3D.
yeah, but like I was for me, it was more the cutesy designs. It looks very that kind of thing. But I could see both. But no, essentially this is this is also one of those console exclusive kind of games where you can only get it from. I'm pretty sure it's console exclusive, right?
I would believe so. There were definitely a couple of games shown at the PS5 showcase that were not exclusive. One of them was I believe
Which good was it? The
it was a new Capcom game they announced.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that one later. But also Hitman 3 too.
Right, yeah, Hitman 3 also was one of them.
Yeah. And so, Kevin, what are your thoughts on this game? Is called Kena Bridge of Spirits. What are your thoughts on that game?
I would concur with what Joey said. Is it definitely has that whole vibe of like very similar to like that DreamWorks hit, Kubo and the Two Strings. I definitely felt
Was it DreamWorks?
No,
it wasn't DreamWorks. As I thought too.
Yeah,
it was made by another company.
I don't know the name of the company. It starts with a K, but like
they made the Paranorman one, and I think the director also made Bumblebee.
Yeah, Josh.
Well, apparently wanted to be a rapper.
No, it was Travis Knight. That was the name of the director. I was about to say Josh Knight. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah. But yeah. No. It's
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking it up, Kelvin?
Yeah, I'm actually curious myself now.
Oh, okay.
What
but
Kenda and what?
Kena and the Two Kena Bridge of Spirits is the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie I think we were talking about was Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah, I definitely, like I said, I concur with Joey that it's definitely has a very similar like ancient Far East aesthetic to it, if you will. I definitely felt that presence as well, and I am. Big again. It's just a trailer. We still have its, obviously no gameplay of any sort. I'm actually.
Oh, Leica, right? The
studio that helped make Kubo was Leica.
Yeah, but I think there is bits of gameplay in the trailer, but not enough. It's more of there isn't a whole lot to make you really It's kind of like a third-person action game with a little bit of I don't know, because I think you saw some little round black cutesy looking creatures.
Yeah, there's a little platform thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they do some things that you can command them from what it seems like from some of the gameplay portions they do show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it seems like it's going for a third person sort of action game. Maybe some platforming, maybe some puzzle solving stuff. Yeah.
I mean, for me, it looks like a fun game. I'm pretty sure this is an exclusive. I can't seem to find it whether or not it is. But it's interesting enough for me to might play it. I might check it out. It's like I said, it's got that it has. I think the best way to say it's got that children's animated film vibe.
Yeah.
A lot of people I've seen compare it to Pixar. Some people compare it to DreamWorks. You guys just compared it to Kubo and Two Strings, which was from Leica, and I get it. I see it. I see all of that really there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's gonna touch my childhood right there, somewhere in there. Gonna be.
There probably will be a moment that makes most people cry.
It's gonna be a dead mother, a dead parent.
I mean, that seems classical, I guess.
It's very Disney.
Yeah.
It's also coming from an indie studio by the name of Ember Lau.
This one?
Yeah.
This game?
Yeah. Bridge of Spirits.
Yeah.
Ember.
Yeah, it's an indie game.
Lau. Okay.
Yeah, it's an indie game.
Yeah, which I think really just speaks to the progress that indie games have gone through.
Yeah.
Where they can get to Well, I guess it's sort of more of like development tools are like have been it allows them to do more stuff.
Yeah, nowadays it's not that. I don't think it's that hard to get an Unreal Engine, is it?
No, I think Unreal Engine is pretty easy to get into. Well, in terms of like getting access to it, developing a game inside of it is probably also a lot simpler than I think most would think.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend talk to me about it once.
I think I know that friend. All right, let's go with the next one. And this is one that Joey got good attention. It was and this is probably the weirdest trailer that we got to see out of the PS5 announcements. And Kellen's probably gonna be like, "What the hell am I looking at?"
Yeah, this is like another one that doesn't really have a whole lot of gameplay, but yeah, like it's
The game is called Goodbye Volcano High. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's basically like anthropomorphic dinosaurs going to high school, and it's like, I guess if you had to make the comparison, I feel like it's a lot like yeah, it's a lot like, I guess it seems like it might have a similar edge to like Life is Strange, just probably just teenagers doing teenage stuff.
A lot of coming of age kind of stuff.
It has a lot.
Yeah, and I think I'm assuming part of the plot is just like perhaps since they're dinosaurs and the logo has a asteroid going through it, so I can only assume these people are like the dinosaur people are basically realizing it's the end of times, we're all gonna die.
This is the last chance for me to tell that special someone I love them.
Possibly.
I don't care if they're married. I'm gonna tell them I love them.
All right. I feel like are you referencing
yeah.
Like, I forget what that name of that movie is.
It was fuck, I'm forgetting the name of the movie too.
Okay, let me fill in what that is.
Natalie Portman is at the door and like the dude's like,
"That's not Natalie Portman,
isn't it?
No.
She's in that movie though, isn't she?
Yeah, but she's not that character.
I know, but I can't remember that name of it. Oh, let me see.
It's
Liam Neeson's in.
It's every movie that has the person barging through the church hall as they're about like.
Oh, you mean the Graduate?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
That's where it came from, Kelvin.
Yeah,
but
it's
more
follow that has that scene of
because that scene was so iconic. Even though it's so weird looking at it now, this is way off topic. But just knowing the fact that the main character is in love with the daughter, even though he was screwing the mom, was so fun. It's just, you've never seen The Graduate, have you, Kelvin?
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
No, I actually have. I remember seeing
Love Actually. That's what it was.
Oh, okay, Love Actually. Yeah, no, it's.
I actually had to see The Graduate for a survey of films class, and yeah, I actually had to watch the whole movie.
I like that movie though. It was a good movie.
What, Love Actually?
No, not Love Actually. The Graduate.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's over.
I like that ending. It's like it's just this is gonna end the whole off and going back on, and we're gonna go back on topic. I love the ending where like you're like.
Oh yeah, they're in the bus and they have this moment of like, oh shit, what do we do now?
that sums it up perfectly. That whole sequence. But
going back.
Going
back to the game itself, like especially in the title itself, Goodbye Volcano High, and it's a meteor literally striking through the title. As kids, we were told what happens to all the dinosaurs at the end of the dinosaurs era. Big old rock
on them. They're all birds now.
Big old fiery rock comes down from the sky and hits the earth. Boom. Dinosaurs go bye bye.
There's more to it that happened, but that's this guy. That's this guy's area.
I mean, we will discuss the intricacies that led to the KT extinction event 65 million years ago, but this is not the type of podcast for that. But yeah, honestly, the thing is, that's kind of what gets me is sort of like I guess like it's a very Life is Strange kind of game. It looks like like you're possibly like I don't really, because the thing about this game,
Mm-hmm.
we have release dates for next year. It's a console exclusive to PS5 and PS4. But like the weird, like we don't really have gameplay. Is the thing that, as far as I can tell, unless what we saw, I'm assuming what we saw was in game of what the game looks like. I assume.
I think your notion of being kind of like Life is Strange would make a total sense.
Mm.
I know for me when I was watching this game, it's like I said, this gets a lot of like teenage angst vibes, which if you're not used to like either reading a lot of books with teenage angst, you probably be like, oh, this kind of stuff again. But usually there's always kind of a metaphor for stuff, especially when you look at this. I feel like there's gonna be like sort of a metaphorical thing going on. 'Cause you know how Life is Strange kind of is.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's
yeah,
a metaphor for like what the stuff that's going on.
yeah.
Like it's gonna. And I think this is kind of like what it's gonna be. And I'll say this: it's a creative one. It's one of the ones that caught my eye immediately. And I know Joey's was like, "Oh, this is where we're going. I know where this is going."
Yeah, it just it does look kind of interesting. Whether or not I would actually play this game is entirely is up in the air. Mainly because I have no idea what the gameplay looks like. Is this a weird visual novel type of game? Is this like Life is Strange where you're controlling a character and like it's kind of like a point and click adventure, a la uh like I guess Walking Dead from Telltale, where
Mm-hmm.
you can go around and interact with stuff, and then like choices you make throughout the game like change the storyline.
At any point, on a little side note, speaking of the tall, was it Tall Tales, right? Or
Telltales.
yeah, speaking of the Telltales, did you guys at any point had to do during your, I guess, your basic psychology class where you actually had to, or one of the studies you had to participate in was actually play the game yourself? And
I'm a fine arts major. We didn't have to do that.
okay.
I also never had to do such a thing. The most I ever did was, in terms of any class making me do anything involved with video games, was making me watch cutscenes from Red Dead,
Oh no,
the first
oh
one.
no,
What
it
about
wasn't
LA
even.
Noir? Did you have that situation?
No, we didn't do that.
Really? I thought LA Noir would work.
So
No,
here,
no, we didn't talk about film no more.
the
Mm-hmm.
study that I participated in was actually part of the psychology study. In like they determined, like, okay, say like what kind of person are you out to be? Say you were put in the scenario, and what kind of
Well,
choices you choose.
here's the thing, Kelvin. Great connection, by the way. I like how you did that. But
Yeah.
also, it's not everyone has the same classes, Kelvin.
I mean, it's just
Not everyone needs to take a psychology class.
it
And
was
this
just a
could
coincidence.
happen to you. This could happen to you. And I'm just fucking with you, Kelvin. Really. But no. I would be interested if it was a little bit like the Telltale games, but Telltale games is kind of no longer with us, sadly.
I mean, they are back in a form,
True.
but it's not like the original staff.
Listen,
there
whatever happened to
anymore.
that Guardians of the Galaxy game? No one remembers.
I mean, it
Didn't
came out.
didn't they also do a Batman one as well?
And what
Or
happened to that?
I mean, yeah, well, they made a sequel to the Batman game too, and
Man, who remembers that?
yeah.
I mean, clearly I do.
But you're not enough.
I mean, I didn't play it. I just know it
You
came
just proved my
out.
point.
I know that it came out. That's the
One
thing.
person who plays like, oh, I remember this game. It's like, okay, what about everybody else that played it? Did they play it? Did they actually remember any memorable moments? I don't think so.
Alright, so we're getting way off topic again. This is not that kind of show.
No, it's all right. It's all.
The-
If we ever do go off topic, guys, it's all in good fun. So
we try to make it short and simple. But let's. But no, I'm with you guys. It's like I said, it's probably gonna be some sort of metaphor for something else. Again, we will not be going through all these games. We're gonna be going through more or less like ones that caught me in Joey's eye. Not saying all of them were bad. It's more like, okay, this is cool enough, but we're probably not gonna talk about that. The next game we have here was a game that really caught my eye because it's. I'm pretty sure it's an independent game, isn't it? The game is called Little Devil Inside.
It definitely has that vibe of being an independent game.
Yeah, because the way it looks,
Thank you.
especially the art style, it gives you that kind of indie game. And
I definitely see the indie elements for sure. Just looking at it right now.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's weird because it kind of has like these little fantasy moments, but at the same time, you'll see as we continue later on in this trailer, um, that essentially it can it goes into like not I won't say real world, but like hey, look, this is a modern world kind of stuff. But yeah, Joey, what are your thoughts on this trailer?
I remember watching this trailer, and I think it looks, visually, it has a certain unique art style, and it has a lot of character, I guess, because especially in these sort of like in the sections where it seems like it's in like a modern city kind of thing. Um, but it at the same time it comes to it goes back to the point I had earlier of just like, like, is this like in-game footage? Are we seeing like what is essentially gameplay? Because I don't think we've even seen anything that comes close to being. We see segments that look like it could be like actual gameplay, but most of this just looks like standard trailer fluff to me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it looks like good in terms of visuals, but like I kind of want to see this game in actual action. Also, did we have a release date on this?
I do not recall. I'm gonna double check. But the game, like I said, it's only a console exclusive. It doesn't really say when,
Okay.
but it does look amazing. Kelvin, what are your thoughts on the trailer?
I was gonna say I definitely felt a lot of vibes of visual wise. If anything, it got it takes the visual elements of like I said, this is visual, right? It takes for
Mm-hmm.
me, I feel like this is a mash between, like, if you were to take the visual elements, like the graphics and everything, of Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, um,
Mm.
Yeah.
for the GameCube, you would take that and you take what's another like RPG, like a type adventure where you literally like explore different areas. It's also for PS system as well. I was gonna say Monster Hunter, but not really. I was gonna
Monster Hunter
say,
Night Talk too, but yeah, I think you mean like a Skyrim kind of thing.
yeah, if you were to take that, if you take that
Mm-hmm.
exploration aspect of Skyrim and then add some graphics visuals that very similar to me, because this is a game, like, like I didn't own, but I definitely played a lot if I were to go to a friend's house, was Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, or I'm sorry, no, Wind Waker, Wind Waker, and that was such a classic GameCube game,
Yeah,
especially for the series. So I definitely felt that vibes a lot. So I
yeah.
I am intrigued to see, the actual,
Mhm.
gameplay of this to come out for this game.
And for me, as you guys know, I'm kind of an artist. I like a lot of art. The style of it really caught my eye. It was very simplistic. It was um, it's very soft kind of a look, but also had that sort of like knew how to use the look for it to make it more outstanding, especially the colors. You know, when he's there's a scene where he's like in there's like all gray area, but he pops out because he's wearing a different color. That's an obvious thing, but just when it's a great way for him to stand out, and also for you to feel the sort of weight and ambiance that he's around him. And the story to itself looks kind of funny. I'm kind of wondering why it's called Little Devil Inside. But yeah, let's just say I would this would be a very interesting game for me to play.
Mhm.
And now let's move on to another game. I totally forgot to add this to the list that the games that we were going to talk about before we started. But this is a game that caught a lot of people's eye, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's back!" It's a remake of a game that I've never had a chance to play it. Kelvin, I doubt you played it, but it's a remake to Demon Souls.
I just looked at the title. I'm like, yeah, that's that's already a no. My parents were very restrictive on the types of games I could play. I don't know, I was little.
Yeah, no, essentially. So if you ever play, this is the original Dark Souls kind of game.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. If I recall, like Demon Souls is basically kind of a proto Dark Souls because it was made by the same studio that makes the Dark Soul games. So it's like it has you could consider it, I guess, like a like Dark Souls 0 essentially
mm-hmm.
in a weird way.
Yeah, and the fact that for a lot of people this came back is just really exciting for them. And I'm guessing, like I said, I've never played any of the Souls games, um, but this looks like the kind of game that if you were a fan of it, you are gonna go legit crazy. There's a lot of cool horror elements on it.
Mm.
Yeah, from what I've seen from gameplay from like other Souls games, it is very sort of like it's kind of like it's sort of a third person action game, but it revels on being very difficult in terms of like having you make sure you understand enemy like attack patterns and stuff like that. If you don't pay attention to how certain enemies attack, you're basically going to get killed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's super interesting to see a remake of that scale, because I'm pretty sure the first Dark Souls got remastered like a couple years ago.
Yeah,
So it is
and
interesting to see like
as I recall, this is also a console exclusive just for PlayStation.
Mm.
yeah, although I do believe that's probably because the original Dark Demon Souls was on the PlayStation as well.
Hmm.
So
Well, the Dark Souls games was that for everybody, right?
yeah, and the Dark Souls games are available on all platforms.
Yeah, Kelvin, what are your thoughts on the Demon Souls? Sorry. Trailer.
Uh, Visually, I like for me, I never played. I've only seen gameplay of the Dark Souls franchise, and Dark Souls
You're like,
franchise.
no, I'm not touching that. And
Huh?
you were like, no, I'm not touching that. That's a hell of a hard game.
It's to me, it's not like it was a hard, like I would say it's a hard game, but it was.
It's notoriously known for being difficult.
Yeah, it is known to be quite difficult even on the most easiest of settings. You are still are going to be put to the challenge.
Listen,
Again,
if you never went to the school of Piccolo to learn to dodge, you cannot play this game.
no, but again, another visual stunner for the eyes of the audience, and gameplay wise, it's definitely gonna bring that like y'all mentioned, it's gonna definitely bring those elements of of I guess the original predecessors of Demon Souls, with a what you call it, with similar elements
Mhm.
to like the Dark Souls franchise of like you're going
Mhm.
against tough tough enemies, even tougher big bosses,
Because
and
it's the original where it all started.
then and apparently you can easily get like like one or two shotted by the boss if you're not careful.
Mhm.
So yeah.
All right. I think I already said mine. It's a game that I was never that into the Soul series, so I'm probably not going to be that into this one. But for everybody else, I mean, good for you. Good for you. Now let's talk about a game that I not wouldn't mind playing. It's also kind of a horror game, and it's one that I honestly thought it was Silent Hills when it was announced, but it's actually Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil: The Village.
Yeah, because
Huh?
They're still at it.
What's that?
yeah,
Still
Resident.
at it, man.
Yeah, no, like it came back real strong with 7
Yeah.
because it sort of because 5 6 was sort of like a weird like it turned away from the horror aspect and became just a strict like action kind of game, and people really weren't happy with that. So Resident Evil 7 came in and brought it more or less back to sort of a very horror
Yeah, you were
standard.
basically trapped in that house, all hills have eyes kind of style.
Yeah, and this one is, as I recall, is set to continue with the character from Resident Evil 7, whose name is Ethan, and it takes place in a very haunted, scary village.
And man, the graphics on this looks so great, and the ambiance is. That's the one thing a lot of people liked about Seven was the ambiance, and sort of seeing where this game could take us, and especially with the announcement of a fan favorite coming back to the game
Mm,
is just great. Chris Redfield shows up at the end of the trailer, just
mm.
just starts shooting people up, and I'm like, all right, let's go. And Kelvin, your thoughts on this trailer?
So, I actually know, like I said, for this particular series, I actually know, enough of the characters to know, what their roles played in the series. Like you mentioned, there was Chris Redfield, and then there
As
was
long as you don't mention the movies, we're fine.
Chris Redfield. I think Leon.
Leon. Yeah.
Leon was one. Was it Jill Valentine was another?
Yep.
So but you don't know if those particular characters that I mentioned are actually going to be coming back, but you did say a fan favorite is coming back. So
Yeah. I said it was Chris.
Okay, yeah, Chris Redfield.
The reason I'm rolling the trailer play so you can see Chris Redfield in his old goddamn stocky self.
Oh, that's him.
Yeah.
That interesting side note. I just found out that one of my favorite Ranger actors actually plays voice actors for Leon.
Which one was that?
Jason Font.
Which series was he in?
I forgot which particular series, but he did voice for Leon though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was the
all that matters is Dan Pathworth, Leon Bosch, and I forget his name.
I definitely remember Johnny Young Bosch being in the series. Yes, that I definitely remember. Yes.
Well, Johnny Young Bosch is in Devil May Cry along with Dan Sandworth, who is also the Quantum Ranger, plays Virgil. And what was the name of the guy who voices Dante right now? I can't believe I forget it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know. My brain, I don't.
My brain is.
I'm not like as in tune with the Devil May Cry voice actors as you are.
It just goes to show you how you don't see it first, but now when you see it, it's
Ruben Langdon. That's what it was. Ruben Langdon. He was not in Power Rangers, but he was in the Super Sentai series. Ha ha! No more than you.
Wait, you really?
Yeah, he was in the Super Sentai series. I can't remember the name of it, but he was like the foreign exchange student. But now getting back to Resident Evil.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, the getting back to the series to Resident Evil. Yeah, it's a very you can already tell this is a game that it's going to follow just like the last one, which was like critically acclaimed, very horror like, and this is the thing that a lot of fans were clamoring for because they missed sort of the horror vibes of the games. Like Joey said, Resident Evil 6 was too actiony. It's too actiony for everybody. So getting back into the roots and seeing them following the what made them known for is you can already tell it's gonna be a fun game. And we have one more game because I totally forgot about this game. And this was kind of like the big game that everyone was talking about.
It was basically the game to end the presentation.
Yeah, the game to end the presentation before we headed into
the reveal of the console itself.
Console. And Kelvin, you haven't played Horizon, right?
I have not. No.
Okay, so this is Horizon Zero Dawn 2, and thank you for getting rid of that after me. But essentially, this is a continuation from the last Horizon Zero Dawn. I wasn't that much of a fan of it, but essentially, to sum it up, Kelvin, for you who've never played it, basically future society where machine and kind of plants come together. Special person has to do special things with bow and arrow. She's a female.
I mean, I'm
gonna see it a little bit further. Like this is the kind of stuff you would.
Okay, so the only thing I can get, the only aspect I can get from just looking at the trailer itself is like I just know one of my favorite cosplayers. She actually did the full costume set from the first Horizon Dawn game. She actually did both the costume and the little and her bow weapon as well. Like she actually made it out of EVA. And if y'all followed Kamui cosplay, Horizon Dawn cosplay, if you follow her specific Horizon Dawn cosplay, it's visually it's so accurate. It's really good. Yeah.
They're going for the game. This is essentially it feels like a continuation to basically a game that never really interests me, but for everybody else, like I said, good on you. Joey, what are your thoughts?
One of my roommates from college actually played the game for a little bit, and from what I could tell, it's kind of it's sort of an open world sort of like RPG kind of thing. Like I guess like I think the closest thing I can think of in my brain is like the latest Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It has a very sort of similar like gameplay loop of that where you're just
Yep.
exploring the world and like doing all these sorts of things. And while we don't really see gameplay in this trailer, it's more or less just like set up for like the story of the game. From what I've seen, like it's probably going to continue like that same sort of like open world. You're exploring in a new area because I believe this takes place because like Ellie said, the game is sort of post is in the future, like a post human society that is crumbled away and like a new society is formed and with like giant mechanical animals roaming around and stuff. And I believe this game, the developers said, is the main character Alloy. She's pretty much has gone off to explore. Because I think the full title of the game is Horizon: The Forbidden West. So she's gone westward to try to like find and cure some sort of illness that's happening across the land, basically, and find answers and stuff. So I mean,
You
like,
did a better job explaining than I did. Good job.
yeah. Well, I mean, I've at least paid good enough attention to the story, or well, at least what was being said about it through the trailer and like various developer interviews. But yeah, you know, it just from what I've seen from the original, it does like you know if you're really into that sort of like open world RPG, like you just explore wherever you want to go. Oh, I mean, you know, I think like this one should probably be like will be right up anyone's alley if they're really into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Kelvin, your thoughts? I know you just talked about the cosplayer, but your thoughts from watching the trailer. What were your thoughts? Was that in there for me?
If anything, what I'd probably do is I'd probably go back and I'd probably actually go back and buy the first game since I actually have a PS4 already. I'd probably go back and get the first one, the first was it New
Horizon.
Horizon?
Horizon.
Yeah,
Horizon
yeah,
Zero Dawn.
yeah. Get the previous Horizon Zero Dawn and just play for it myself to see so I can get a feel for it. So that way, by the time the second one comes out, I can get I can get kind of get a pretense of like what am I going to expect. So, but
Yeah.
again, looks like PS5 has a pretty strong lineup in terms of like their games leading up to the actual reveal. So, yeah,
Let's get to the reveal.
yeah, Xbox got the run for their money.
Yeah. Surprisingly. We'll get to that because Kelvin, you still need to be. I feel like you said yourself you still need to be educated with the other console, right?
Most likely, yes.
Yeah.
I've just been seeing so many like enough of the shit memes post to where like okay, like that's all I see the PS5 as now. But it's like I know.
Yeah, and right now, I skipped a bit. That I went to the full reveal of the PS5. This from we're looking at the disc version of the PS5, and what's interesting about this is now is that not only were they able to show this off, they also showed off another kind of sort of a second one with it, which was the PlayStation 5 all digital version, which essentially basically the big difference is that if you don't feel like going out to buy a disc version, you can just buy the digital version with this one, and it's implied that might cost less than the disc version.
So in a way, you go to their I guess the PS store, the PlayStation store, and because it's a non-disc version, non-physical version, you go to the PS store and you download it and you buy it. It's supposedly cheaper than buying an actual physical copy.
No, it's still going to cost you the same.
It's just that the console itself will probably be cheaper because since they don't have to, they don't have to put the effort in putting in a disk drive inside the console.
Yeah.
That basically saves them money, so they can just put it out.
And we'll be talking about the price tag and something that I found out like at least 1 or 2 days ago when this was first revealed. The size, which is I'll say this is a big boy. Kelvin, what are your thoughts?
What's up?
No, you're gonna say something? I'll let you finish.
No, I was gonna say, is there because now that there's two versions, there's one without a disc, one with a disc slot. Are both systems still going to be called PS5, or does the one?
Yeah, they're both PS5. There's one that's digital edition.
Okay, so yeah, there
It,
it is. No vision.
Xbox essentially did the same thing with their Xbox One X and the One S. I know, very hard to tell which is one,
Yeah.
but the S one, I'm doing the little finger nod, if you can see. No, there you go. The S essentially is the all digital edition, which essentially does not come with a disc, and it was a lot cheaper than the One X, which is one I have like right here next to me. But essentially, yeah, it's a lot of people are surprisingly divisive when it comes to the design.
Mm.
Kelvin, I'll start you off because this is the first time looking at the design.
Yeah.
Well, both designs.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts on the PS5 design?
Without having at the back of my mind of all the shit meme posts that I've
Let's
been
not talk about how it looks like a Rotom or a reverse Oreo or what else
yeah,
is there?
like I said, without the thought because that right now, all the shit memes and the shit posts are at the back of my mind.
Mhm.
Without the thought of that, I don't know. Like I'm having like it's you know I'm very split on this, right? Because on one end,
Mhm.
yes, it is the new console, of this era, of this generation. That's like, everybody's gonna be talking about it for a good while, and visually though, it, it's interesting. It does have it does for me has that futuristic aesthetic to where like it's the middle is like just one single unit, and then the borders is just
Mhm.
like, oh, it's all this slim and it's curved. It's like what you normally see in a lot of new product reveals that has either a slim or curved like edge. This is something similar that you see in that. So um in terms of like now in terms of I guess like overall appearance, yeah, think it's okay. I
Mhm.
like, but having the actual console in your house when like when the game or when the
Doesn't look
console,
weird.
yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, I feel I feel like it's just gonna stick out. Like I feel like it's just be this very long elongated system. It's like okay, here's the room, here's everything else, here's the games. Oh wait, there's the PS5. Like it will stick out like a sore thumb for sure. But
Mhm.
you know, I am intrigued to see how, in that case, even with visual appearances on the side, I am intrigued to see how they do in terms of like sales though. Like how they
Mhm.
compete. How will they
So,
the Xbox?
so Joey, yeah, we're gonna get to that. So Joey, your thoughts on the design? I know you have a very interesting thought.
Yeah, like I do. I think I agree with Kelvin. It is going for a very sort of futuristic look, which I think makes sense given the fact I think before when they announced that they were doing this PS5 showcase, that the main tagline was "Come and see the future of gaming." So they really took that style, that the idea of future of gaming really literal in that they designed it to look very sort of like futuristic. um with that being said, I feel like I think it might have gone a bit too far in that area.
Mm,
Like because it just like there's a part of me that just it makes it like look very odd, like awkward, I guess. Especially the disc version, because you have like that little side bump, I guess, to allow the space for the disc drive to be in. And I mean, the digital vision, I think, slightly has a more uniform design. It's more
Mhm.
symmetrical, which I think helps with the futuristic design. So I think I like the digital version slightly better in terms of the design, but it's still sort of like I know some people are like, well, yeah, I don't want it to be just a big black, I don't want it to just be like a like just like a four sided like black box or whatever. But sometimes there's like a simplicity to that,
Mhm.
and sometimes you can kind of go a little bit too far in terms of trying to be too unique. And I think the PS5 is kind of close to that, but there's still like aspects of it I do like.
Mhm.
I mean, I think the real thing I have with it is that um, it does look better standing up, but when you lay it down on its side,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
gonna get to that. Don't worry.
yeah,
Yeah.
it does not look that great.
Yeah. I actually pulled up an image
like
to
like I
show
said,
off the title.
like I said, when you actually bring it home and you put it in your room, whether you lay it up like straight up or you lay it down, it's just gonna be this.
It's gonna be a nice one.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Honestly, though, but like my thing about that point is like
Mhm.
I agree with that, but like at the same time, I think in a weird way you like basically have to design. If you're gonna have like a gaming room and your PS5 is gonna stand out like that, I feel like you're compelled to have to design the room around the PS5 so that way it
Mhm.
aesthetically fits.
I was
So maybe
just I was just
for some people, maybe that's
yeah.
like really cool. Like like this PS5 looks so weird and futuristic. It's gonna be the thing that attracts you into the room.
I
You
was
know,
just
like
I
I'm
was
gonna
just
design
about to
everything
say
to make
that.
sure that the PS5 stands out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just about to say that with what Joe said. It's like imagine just having the PS5 in your room now. Like even if it's a gaming room, but you have to design and put things around to where it matches with that. With like the PS5
Mhm.
blends with everything else. It's that to where you have to like move stuff around to a point to where like okay, it's not just the PS5 only sticking out
Calvin,
in.
Calvin, it's gonna get a lot worse for you if you're thinking of that.
I know, right?
No, so coming from the artist perspective, I like the idea of the design. I like it. It stands out when you think of PS. Now, when you think of PS5 or PlayStation, that's the first thing that comes to mind. That's good designing. That's good use of your first of all your art degree, but coming up with something like that, it will stand out and it will come to mind. Um, I agree with you that it looks weird in some aspects, but for me, I think it's fine standing up. Calvin, let me show you how it looks on the side, and that's what kills me. That is what kills me, man.
Oh
That
my
is what
god.
kills me.
If I'm gonna see that, oh no,
It
oh
ruins it,
jeez,
doesn't it?
oh god, oh no.
Yeah. So I just showed Kelvin an image of the PlayStation on its side,
Why do I
which
why do I get the feeling that's like it's more of a personal
to me,
obligation? Yeah, it's like a like why do I feel like if me as a consumer decides to buy it, I'm gonna have to feel personally obligated to where like okay, I don't want to lay it on the side because it looks like that, so I'm gonna have to lay it up so it looks.
granted, Kelvin, this is the version the image we did see was the disc version, so it might look a little better
Yeah,
with the discless version.
who
But
knows?
either
Yeah,
way, those curves make it look weird on
it
its
it
side.
it does. Yeah, it
And,
does.
and again, not to say it's not a bad design. I think it's very striking. It really does pop out
Just
in
like
a
Joe.
sea of basically
Yeah,
in a sea basically was a black consoles. All the consoles were black,
just
and
just
now we have a one white standing out.
just like what Joey says, like PS5 literally took the the tagline of the future of gaming so literal to where that's it. That's literally the future of
Mhm.
gaming. Is that like
Yeah.
what if you look at
No,
future gaming? Not that, but
not bad mouthing it. Not bad mouthing it.
no,
It's
no.
a good design. It's
Yeah,
just there's aspects of it. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't look in that good in that way.
it
It's like
yeah, it does follow that tagline, but doesn't mean like okay, like it's a good design or anything.
it does.
It follows that tagline of how the future of gaming.
So Kelvin,
Yeah,
when remember when I said it's gonna be a lot worse for you? We're trying to design having it in your room or whatever.
yeah.
You want to see the size comparison?
Oh god.
So I don't know who did it. I can't. So if you know who did it, give the man credit or woman.
Yeah.
But they analyzed from the disk version that the size of the disk drive and the USB, they measured it compared to all the past consoles, and they noted that the PS5 is actually bigger.
Mm. Ha, 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 ha.
This is from then I'm showing I showed one compared to all of them. Now I'm showing one that was from IGN.
Oh
That is
boy.
the accurate height, length, and width of the PlayStation 5. The height being 15.74. So what's it? That's inches.
Yes, that'd be inches.
Yes, and the length will be 3.97 inches, and the width will be 8.79 inches, making it a very beefy boy. Kelvin's like, I do not know where to put that in my room.
All I can think of right now is what's the word lechonk lechonk the chunky boy. That's all I can think of right now. It's just
Chungus. Big Chungus.
Big Chungus.
Big Chungus.
chunga.
I will say that
Yeah.
looking at the IGN specs, at least in terms of the Series X, the Series X is technically like it has a uniform length and width, I guess, which I guess helps with the idea of it being like a cube, like not a cube, like
It's
a
an
very
obelisk.
like a very obelisk, like a rectangular prism kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, the I think the PS5 just has like that, like it's just very like long and wide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I said I love the design, but there's aspects of it that could have been better.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now let's go to something that would really interest us, and especially since this was not mentioned, and a lot of people. Kelvin, I'll tell you this right now. Right now in the gaming world, there's the biggest, longest game of chicken I've ever seen in my life, which is who is gonna reveal their price tag first, Xbox or PlayStation, Microsoft or Sony? Who's gonna give in first?
Who's gonna
Now,
give it first?
That's who they're waiting on.
Yeah. Who's gonna?
Because basically, like, everyone's talking about the designs of the PlayStation and the Xbox, how they're both made to be kind of basically. I'm surprised none of us mentioned this during the design of both consoles. They're basically PC towers.
I mean, I understand that comparison, mainly because from what we've seen, they both are situated standing upwards. But like most people have essentially these consoles can still be laid down on their sides, and I think a lot of people will like to do that. They will like to
Yes.
because I think it's just like there's a certain I guess fear of like if you have a console standing upright without like a stand to like keep it stable, then you might accidentally knock it over, you might like mess something up when it falls over. So keeping it on its side, is seen as sort of a safety precaution, which is why I think Series X I think is designed in that sort of like obelisk kind of way where you can just easily lay it down on your side and it still looks more or less pretty fine.
Oh, there's also the rumor that there might be a digital version for the Series X too. That talking about the prices. So, in an Instagram post from IGN, this is literally a couple of days ago, they asked a former Microsoft employee who was known for sort of handling the whole price. Not, I won't say the prices, but like the let's see, he was the marketing director. He responded to a rumor suggesting that the PS5 might be around $600. That's the disc version. To which even he responded, "That is too much. That is, it cannot be more than $499."
And I'm assuming that's only because I'm assuming he's saying that mainly because that's the only price, that's the highest price they can go while still being competitive in the market. Because if they go, because
this would be a PS3 situation all over again, where the PS3 was, I want to say $500.
Oh yeah,
for
that
first
was
launch.
That was
yeah, like 500. I think it might have actually been 600.
Yeah, I remember that. PS5
Yeah,
was
I think I remember. I think it was $599. Like the one with the more hard storage space was like I think $599. So yeah, which was like I think the contributing reason why the PS3 did very poorly at the start of that console generation, while the Xbox did very well. And I think Sony has definitely learned that mistake, and I think that contributes to the current situation of like both consoles have essentially been revealed, but neither console maker is ready to give a price because
the longest game of chicken, man.
Yeah, because I think both Sony and Microsoft, I think, fear that whatever price they set their competitor will go and easily like make it cheaper.
It's funny. Even the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, said that he's got the backing of the big wigs at Microsoft to adjust the price if need be.
Yeah, and that's the thing that makes it very interesting in this sort of like price setting like game of chicken that they have is that when you look at it, Microsoft is a $1 trillion company.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox is just one of their small division, is just one division in a large, gigantic corporation. Sony has, I think, the joke has been like the only thing that's been keeping Sony afloat is the PlayStation brand because for a long time the Sony movies haven't been that great. There's a lot of their tech stuff that isn't PlayStation has been getting mediocre sales. So, this is like from what I heard like years ago. I don't know how profitable the Sony stuff is now, but I still assume that the PlayStation brand that Sony has is still their most profitable brand imaginable, and I think that's why they are going really hard in this game of chicken of like, hey, we got to take the chance. We got to make sure this thing sells like hotcakes, like the PS4 did. But Microsoft, I think, what you said, like them, like Phil Spencer saying that he has like the backing of like needing to adjust the price to stay competitive with the PS5. I think means to me that if the PS5 goes for like $499 and Xbox it says they're like $599, not $599, like $399, they'll go like even lower because I think the thing is that Microsoft is willing. I think that just says that Microsoft is willing to take losses on the Xboxes in order to it's a common like I think strategy as far as I've heard is that you set a price that is lower than it. You set a product at a price that's lower than it is to make, so you're essentially earning losses at the start of of the production, but eventually people are going to buy it because it's cheap, and thus you'll be able to recuperate the costs.
Which is probably why they decided to do a all digital edition.
Yeah, that's probably why the PS5 it has an all digital edition to get, so that way they can like at least incentivize a cheaper version of a PS5 to be competitive with whatever Xbox can put out.
Yeah.
Which leads me to there was a recent Forbes article, Kelvin, that they got from Amazon. There's a supposed leak from Amazon France that had the price tag for the PS5, both version, disc and digital version, where it's centered around like £499 for the disc version and $399 for the disc version. Which
aren't pounds British though? That would be
euros. Sorry, I'm stuck in British.
France is still euros, and then British they switched back to pounds instead of
they always had pounds, but they had euros. But now I'm guessing they don't have euros because of Brexit. We're not going to talk about that.
But essentially,
tell me in US dollars, Ellie, please. I don't understand the euro.
Okay, so in euro wise, for the disc version would be around $565. Disc version would be around $450 US. That post was essentially eventually taken down. Yeah. But essentially, if the price tag is true to believe, then good Lord Almighty.
Yeah, well, to be fair, yeah, that's definitely that is definitely pricey. If that rumor, well, if the leak is like legit, that is I don't see it being like 565. That seems like way too specific of a number. Usually, it's
you probably would have to round it.
Right, because this is what a conversion of the euros to actual US dollars. When usually, I think the US dollar is like this is what they set it as, and then they convert it to the other currencies. But yeah, I think 450 makes sense. I guess for a
discless version.
Yeah, I honestly like looking at it. I think if anything, I think the the disc version of the PS5 probably will go for $499, while the discless version might be $450. That's just me looking at the information. If this is legit, I think it won't be more of that.
What do you think, Kelvin, from all the information we just spatted out? I can hear your wallet crying, Kelvin. I know.
What's up?
I can hear your wallet crying.
Well, part of it is that is partly true,
Okay,
but the second part is the whole again it's this ongoing war. It's this ongoing like console wars, if you will, that's been going on for years and years between both the I guess Microsoft. I get yes, it is Xbox versus PS4, or I'm sorry, PlayStation versus PlayStation versus Xbox, and then the companies itself, Sony versus Microsoft. It has been an ongoing thing since forever. But
because it's your
which
competitor, man. You got to work against your
right,
competitor.
exactly. So whichever company does decides to cave first and actually reveal the full price of it, it's it's definitely gonna like make people like in my opinion, I feel like it's gonna have the fans of the audience like maybe like switch sides
Mm-hmm.
if anything like switch sides in terms of like okay price, whether it is pricing or whether it is oh hey I actually decided like I prefer the Xbox over the new Xbox over the PS5 or the new PS5 over the Xbox. So it
Mm-hmm.
could be in terms of that. So yeah.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. I feel personally, I feel like if the okay, imagine this is my thought process. PlayStation PlayStation 5 disc version has to be at least $100 more than the digital version because
Yeah.
people want because I didn't show you in the trailer, but there was like there was like added stuff, like headsets, controller, like I mean like an actual remote controller, and like other controllers. I feel like you would want that price to be low,
Mm,
so that way they can buy those extra stuff plus the games
mm,
to make. That's what you would want now.
mm,
I can totally see them doing that.
mm.
Um, the pricing is really the big issue right now with the consoles, and we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But let's move on to more of the games because the games were one of the big things. We're just gonna go over probably the Spider-Man one because there's a huge debate whether or not it's an actually full-fledged game or just kind of like an add-on DLC kind of stuff.
I'm pretty sure it's been more or less kind of clarified at this point.
Yeah, but it's still a nice thing to talk about.
Yeah, like the initial buzz of like, wait, is this the actual Spider-Man sequel? Because we knew that Insomniac,
Mm-hmm.
the game studio that worked on the first Spider-Man game, was not only bought by PlayStation to be part of their lineup of PlayStation studios or whatever. Uh, but obviously everybody was like, all right, they're gonna obviously make a sequel because it did so much money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so there was a lot of buzz at the time when Spider-Man Miles Morales came out. Was like, wait, is this actually Spider-Man 2? If so, why is it not called Spider-Man 2 Miles Morales? That sort of like
Yeah.
thing that, which it's often like a weird sort of thing that happens with a lot of video games. Like you have Battlefield, and you have Battlefield 4, and the next one was Battlefield 1. But that's because Battlefield 1 was set during World War One, so it's like, oh, okay, I get it. But then you get Battlefield 5, which is set in World War Two, and it's like, all right, what's going on, EA? Dice, why do you keep naming it weird? Just stick to a format.
Yeah. But no, so it's basically confirmed it's a spinoff. But a lot of people are concerned right now is that just because it's a spinoff doesn't mean that it's still going to be good.
Well, I mean, I think it will. If anything, I feel like it's just going to be using a more modified version of the Spider-Man engine because we know. I think it's probably very certain that Spider-Man PS4 will be a backwards compatible game with the PS5 because we did see like a demo of it being run on PS5 and seeing the load times being faster. So I think like Spider-Man Miles Morales will probably be will be using that same engine but slightly more modified to work better on the PS5. While like I assume another team is working on making Spider-Man 2.
Nice.
No, it'd be 2 though because
I'm just kidding. So, Kelvin, I feel like either way, Kelvin, you're still gonna check out the game, right? Spinoff either way.
Yeah. Like I said, but Miles Morales was one of the first games that we talked about, and I am intrigued to see how it does in terms of like when the game actually releases, and then overall how it does in sales compared to its predecessor or like compared to other PS4 PS5 games. it's just a more of like, we'll see what happens. It's, you can't really predict anything now. Like, even if you could, it's very like, the predictions that you may have may change, may not change, or if anything, yeah. So
Before we move on so we're gonna end this off with saying, what can Xbox do to respond? But before that, I gotta tell you about this tweet that Aaron Greenberg, who works for Microsoft, tweeted out to as a response to the whole Sony thing. He said, "Congrats to our friends at Sony on their show today. Xbox fans should know titles like GTA 5, which is one of the big titles they talked about.
Oh yeah, they revealed that they're porting GTA 5 to next gen
Again.
consoles, which is a 7-year-old game at this point, I think.
Yeah,
it's very funny to me.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2 Village, Hitman 3, NBA 2K21, Pragmata, etc. are going to look and play great on Xbox Series X, the world's most powerful console. Hashtag power your dreams. Hashtag X gonna give it to you." Kevin, I was like, you gotta admit that was pretty good.
I mean, I already heard it the first time. I'm like, all right, it literally goes with it, because it's it's the new Xbox, and then like
Xbox, there's an X in it.
I know.
Hopefully, maybe commercial.
This is a great segue to talk about how Xbox. Oh, I was gonna let you
go. Oh yeah, well, I was gonna say like, I guess if we're gonna be talking about how Xbox will respond, maybe make commercials about Xbox to what is it, Run DMC, right?
Yeah.
X gonna give it to you. Just like do commercials with that in the background. I think people will like that. It's very funny.
I swear, if Xbox actually does it, I'm like, all right, I'm out.
I would be like, you sir, you corporation have earned my dollar now, I guess, because I like. But yeah, I think because I think Xbox is going to have a similar sort of showcase
next
month in July. Because they had like a showcase back in like May, but it was more of like third-party developers.
Yes, me, you, and Daniel did talk about that.
Which I mean, yeah, you can go check that episode out. It's been out for a while. But yeah, I think because they will be doing something in July, I think what they really need to do, if they want to respond back to like keep the momentum of this console war going, I guess, is just show up a lot of first parties titles, because I think that's sort of the edge that like I think the PS4 had, was like the first party exclusives, and it looks like with PS5 they're still gonna like really rely on that. Like, hey, this system has these sorts of games only on this system. Come check it out. So
most of the games we talked about were only gonna be on that system. I mean, there's no chance that Xbox is ever going to let people play it. There's no chance you can play Miles Morales on Xbox. But, it's funny. A lot of the game, what Aaron Greenberg talked about, it's just, if you look at the specs, Xbox is technically the strongest one.
Yeah, which I do remember that previous PS5 live stream, but that was more about like just talking about the specs of the PS5. And I think we did an episode on that too.
Yeah, we did.
It was sort of like as the presenter, I forget his name, but he was sort of just like, kind of like implying like, wow, the console is probably not as strong as the Xbox Series X. It still has a lot to offer, like 3D audio,
Yeah, and the load screen was probably the best thing they could offer.
Yeah.
And Kelvin, what you as someone who doesn't play games, what do you think Xbox needs to do to catch your attention compared to what PlayStation has showed you off?
I guess me personally, I've never owned an Xbox system before. I've only played on friends or family consoles, because they happen to have it. So personally for me, I've never owned the console myself, but if Xbox were to stack up to PS5, then they would have to bring something. Yes, they would have to bring something that's both unique and innovative in their own image, without seeming much too like either copied or much too like mirrored to the to the PlayStation, because there have been times when, like whenever I guess the Xbox One versus the PS4 came out, compare the two, and each of the prospective games, or came out for each systems. I guess in terms of for Xbox One when it first came out, I felt like during the time of the release, I felt like a lot of their new games that came out were practically like mirroring PS5 or the PS4 in terms of like visual, in terms of
I feel like that. I feel like if you weren't into gaming enough, you could probably say that. But someone who owned that Xbox, I would say they were a little more different, and some were a little bit better. But I think
yeah,
what really killed the Xbox One was its pre like launch stuff,
yeah,
the DRM policies, the always on. The guy who was like, if you don't have internet, then don't buy this console, and everyone's like, no.
And the controversial sort of like you can't use you can't like play used games, I guess.
Yeah, the DRM policy,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's
which
So
they've thankfully moved away from, and thankfully got rid of the DRM policy.
right.
well, that was like a day one thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So again, it's that I felt, I guess for me would be, um, in terms of stacking up to the PS5, is just have something that's that's unique and innovative to their own image, and to make sure that
I
if
think,
if they're gonna have
I'm sorry,
if if they're gonna have that, then they should like ride with that, instead of like you said, the past mistake that they have of like not allowing to play used games, or not having a thing that you're not able to play used games. So like I said,
well,
um
yeah, and even when they got rid of that, those now they talked about it, and then they got
mhm,
rid of it immediately before the console came out.
yeah,
That still left like a huge stain on the console.
yeah,
So that became really difficult. I know for me when it first came out, when they were first announcing it back at E3, was it 2014? Um, yeah, it was 2014 when they announced the games, right? The
No, it was 2013.
2013, yeah, 2013. I'm thinking about 2014 for a reason. Uh, Back when they announced that trailer, the at E3, like all the games that come out. I know there was one trailer that caught my eye, which was the Killer Instinct trailer, and I've been a huge like fan of that trailer
hmm,
and the whole thing. I'm actually about to pull it up, and you probably can't hear. I lower the audio because we don't want to get from people. But essentially, uh, yeah, it was the thing that caught my eye along with Halo and all that stuff. But if you don't know anything about gaming, then it's not going to be as well, not gaming, but like if you don't know much about like console stuff or like the games that are being announced, because this game was like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? There was a lot of stuff. It was what's the word I'm looking for? The game came out and it didn't really cost much. It was actually kind of free and it cost only $20. And I feel like some people were like, that's not enough. If I don't know, for me, I'm always big fan of fighting games. This is like my kind of game, and that was already like a console thing for me to buy along with Halo, Sunset Overdrive, Titanfall. I think that's what you kind of need for. Like I said, Joey said, you need that sort of attraction to the game. If you don't know anything about like games, I think you probably wouldn't know. You just know PlayStation is more popular because everyone's talking about PlayStation. Kelvin, even you said you never played a Halo game. You kind of don't get why people are so excited for Halo.
I I've played a few Halo games, just like not. I've played both the good ones and the bad ones.
Yeah, but you told me before like you never understood why people were so excited for it.
Yeah, that part, yes.
Yeah, I didn't say you didn't play it. I'm just saying
Yeah,
you didn't understand how.
yeah,
And I'll say this: then Halo Infinite, it's their only thing going for it. Yet the fan base is kind of like, should we trust these guys or not? They kind of like, us in the back before. But I said it before. Halo fans are they're kind of loyal sometimes. But it's interesting. Xbox needs to. Well, we'll see what Xbox does by the next month. And yeah, so I guess this is the end of the episode, Kelvin.
Yeah,
Um,
we really got into this one. Over we just overshot a little bit over an hour 30, but again, this is a good
I don't
talk.
think. I mean, Kelvin, we had longer ones
No, yeah, I know.
that you weren't interested in as much.
Well, it's not like I wasn't interested. It's just like because I didn't have. I just felt like for me for this particular episode, I just didn't have much to contribute. So like
Well,
I can only.
you said yourself you weren't a gamer.
I wasn't. So like I said, I didn't
So,
have.
like,
I have a limited amount to contribute.
yeah, and thankfully enough, your limited amount actually helped out.
Yeah.
We got your perspectives as someone who would probably buy a console.
Yeah, like it's like the litmus test.
You're the
like,
litmus test.
Yeah, of like like the average consumer who sees a brand new console. What are their thoughts?
Yeah. I know you didn't feel like you did talk too much, but Kelvin, you were essential to this episode.
Thank you.
But no, Kelvin, it's time to end it. You know what to do. Tell these people where they can find us, they can listen to us, and all that good stuff.
So as always, guys, anywhere where podcasts can be heard, Spotify. Was it? Yeah, Spotify, iTunes, Apple, aka Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Google Play, Pandora, anywhere where podcasts can be heard, can be listened to, downloaded. And if you're on the iTunes, be sure to slap us with the 5 stars for our visual watchers who rather watch us talk rather than listen to us maybe on the radio or anything or who would rather watch us than rather listen. Then go ahead and like that video, like this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit that bell icon to get notifications on all of our new episodes that drops. And of course, if you guys haven't noticed already, guys, we actually dropped a new logo. Well, not really. It's more of a cleaner version of the logo, but still, if you guys haven't seen the logo circulating our social medias, which it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You might see it around, but it's out there. It's basically just a much cleaner version of the logo that our good buddy Eli here had actually drawn for us. So, and thanks to one of our previous guests that actually helped us out with the design, now we have a much cleaner look to the logo.
I ain't good at digital. I said it before. I'm more of a hands-on artist.
Hopefully, with this new logo, we'll be a little bit more visually appealing towards the audience. And last but not least, our Patreon. It's still up and running. I know there hasn't been much activity on it, but it is active. So the links are in the description for the video below. Even if you can only contribute like $1, anything helps for us. So any of the money that we get through Patreon, it will of course goes towards keeping the podcast going and just yeah.
Yeah. All right. And that's the end of the episode, guys. We'll be here to talk about the next announcement for Xbox. Hopefully, again, they bring something good. I'm hoping for at least maybe a Banjo reveal.
No, Banjo Kazooie's dead, Ellie.
He got in Smash, Joey. He can come in again. Or at least Conker's, goddammit.
No, Conker is dead too.
Goddammit.
All the rare things are dead.
No, not Killer Instinct.
I guess that's true. A new KI would be interesting, but
I would cry. This is time to end it. It's been fun, guys. Calvin, Joey, it's thanks again. We're all happy to have each other around. Please stay safe. Send us away, Joey.
It's been me, Joe.
It's been your boy Kelvin,
and it's been your boy Eli. And we had another fun episode. Hope you guys enjoy. Have a good one. Peace.
Bye-bye.